We were sitting in the living room when my dad placed an envelope on the table in front of me. Your sister's wedding expenses. He said, you need to handle this. I frowned. Handle what? Pay for it. My mom added casually, like she was asking me to pass the salt. I laughed lightly, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. Dad slid the paper toward me. I opened it. $20,000. Venue, catering, decorations, photography, advance payments already marked. I looked up slowly. Why am I seeing this? Because you're the only one who can afford it, he replied. I blinked. So that means I'm responsible? Mom sighed. Don't make this difficult. It's your sister's big day. Hey, if you enjoy my content, please subscribe and hit the bell. Your support means everything and helps me keep creating. Thank you so much. I glanced toward her. She was sitting there quietly, not embarrassed, not uncomfortable, just expectant. Like this was normal. Like this was my role. I wasn't asked, I said calmly. I was told. Dad's voice hardened. We are your parents. You should be happy to help. Help. That word felt heavy, because this wasn't help. This was obligation disguised as family duty. I read the bill again. They had already planned everything assuming I would pay. No discussion. No permission. No respect. Just assumption. I need time to think, I said. There's nothing to think about, Mom replied. You're not struggling. You live comfortably. Why are you acting like this is a burden? Because it wasn't about money. It was about being treated like a walking wallet. I looked at my sister. Did you know about this? She nodded. They said you'd take care of it. I stared at her. Not a single, are you okay with this? Not a single, thank you. Just expectation. That night, I didn't argue. I didn't refuse. I didn't agree. I went to my room and sat quietly. And for the first time, I asked myself a question I had avoided for years. When did my success become their entitlement? Every time I worked late, every sacrifice, every effort to build stability, somehow it had turned into something the family could casually assign. I wasn't a son. I wasn't a sibling. I was a solution. The next morning at breakfast, Dad asked, so when will you transfer the money? I took a sip of tea. I won't, I said calmly. Silence fell across the table. Mom put her cup down. What do you mean you won't? I mean, I'm not paying for the wedding. My sister's eyes widened. Are you serious right now? Yes. Dad's voice rose. This is selfish. I stayed calm. No, this is a boundary. They were stunned because I had never used that word before. Boundary. And they didn't like how it sounded. You're embarrassing us, Mom said. We already told people you're covering it. That was your mistake. I replied gently. Not mine. My sister stood up angrily. I can't believe you do this to me. I looked at her. I didn't do anything to you. You planned a wedding you couldn't afford. Her face turned red. Dad slammed his hand on the table. In this family, we support each other. I agree, I said. Support is asked, not ordered. That sentence changed the air in the room. For the first time, they realized this conversation wasn't going where they expected. I wasn't arguing emotionally. I was speaking clearly and calmly, and that made it harder for them to push me. After that breakfast, the house felt tense. No one spoke to me directly, but I could feel the silent pressure building. Doors closed louder. Conversations stopped when I entered the room. My sister avoided looking at me, but I could hear her complaining to Mom in the kitchen. He's doing this on purpose. He wants to ruin everything. I didn't respond. I didn't defend myself. I went about my day normally. By evening, Dad called me into the living room. We need to talk properly, he said. I sat down. This isn't how family behaves, he continued. You have the money. Your sister doesn't. It's that simple. It's not simple, I replied. You're confusing ability with responsibility. Mom crossed her arms. So, you're just going to watch her struggle? I'm watching her face the reality of her choices. That line made them pause. Because for years, reality had been optional for her. If something went wrong, I covered it. If she overspent, I adjusted. If she needed help, I stepped in before she even asked. Not out of obligation, out of habit. And now that habit was gone. She's your sister, Mom said softly, trying a different tone. I know, I said, which is why I'm not yelling, not fighting, not insulting anyone. I'm just saying no. They didn't know how to argue with that. A day later, relatives started calling me. Your aunt said you're refusing to help. What happened? Why are you being stubborn over money? It was clear my parents had already started building a narrative. I didn't defend myself to anyone. I simply said, this is a family matter. Because explaining myself would make it look like I needed approval. I didn't. Meanwhile, reality began knocking on my sister's door. The wedding planner called, asking for the next installment. The venue asked for confirmation. The decorator demanded payment. For the first time, she had to make those calls herself. I watched quietly as panic replaced entitlement. One evening, she came to my room. Can we talk? She asked. I nodded. I didn't know they would force you like this, she said. I thought you offered. I didn't. She sat down. What am I supposed to do now? That's the first right question you've asked. I replied. She looked confused. For the first time, you're asking what you should do, not what I should do. She had no answer. Over the next week, she started making changes. Reducing guest lists, canceling extra decorations, switching venues, cutting costs wherever possible. Things that should have been done from the start. Dad grew quieter. Mom stopped bringing it up because they could see something uncomfortable happening. Their pressure wasn't working, and my silence was louder than their arguments. One night, Dad said, "You've changed." I haven't. I replied. I just stopped saying yes automatically. That sentence stayed with him. By the second week, my sister came to me again. I spoke to the planner. She said, "We're doing a smaller wedding now. Something we can actually afford." I nodded. "That's good." She hesitated. "I'm sorry for assuming." I didn't respond immediately because this wasn't about apologies. It was about understanding. You planned a wedding based on someone else's wallet. I said calmly, "That's never a safe plan." She looked down, and for the first time, she understood that this lesson wasn't about money. It was about independence. Meanwhile, my parents stopped trying to convince me because they realized something important. I wasn't being emotional. I wasn't being rebellious. I was being firm. And firm is hard to move. A month later, the wedding happened. Smaller venue. Fewer guests. Simple decor. And it was beautiful. Not because it was expensive, but because it was honest. My sister came to me before the ceremony. "You were right," she said quietly. "I needed this lesson." I smiled. You needed control over your own life. My parents watched us from a distance. They understood now. They thought refusing to pay would break the family. Instead, it fixed the roles. I wasn't the wallet anymore. I was just